So, how do you work on a variant cover? Start with you.
Oh, you draw it.
Fair enough. Okay, so do you reach out to them and say, hey, I'd like to do a cover, or do they give you a holler?
A lot of times for me, whenever I've been able to land a variant gig, it's usually the company reaching out to me. They say what they want and give me references and parameters and then a deadline, and I go for it. And I know that with variants, it's more of a collector thing, so you try to put as much candy on that cover as possible, which is like the detail where you're like carpal tunnel and you're like, I regret my decisions. But to try to make it splashy. It's not necessarily about the content of the book with variants as it is, just something very pretty because it's going to be collected, whereas the story run covers are more about the story and the actual interiors of the book. So that's how I land variants. I'll slide that over.
Pretty similar for me too. For variants, a lot of times you don't get the story. You just have to make a really cool image, iconic shot of the character. And usually these companies contacted me about doing it. So, that's about it.
It's going to be about the same answer all the way down, I think.
Fair enough.
The interesting things about it is, it's not something you usually draw, so sometimes they're a bit more of a challenge because if it's a character you're not familiar with or just imagery you're not familiar with, it always takes, it takes me a while to get used to doing it, and that's the biggest thing about it. They are fun to do, and like I said, they're collector's items, so sometimes they're actually on the market worth a little bit more money. Yeah, unless I decide to keep them, which I quite often do. So.
Yeah, I think they normally get to you, give you a sense of what the deadline is, preconceptions, what they're looking for, and then you ignore all of that. And you make the cover that you want to make because it's a variant.
Mm-hmm.
And then the trick is you turn it in at the very last minute so they can't
So they
ask
can't
you for
edit
changes.
I actually give them 2 sketches, 2 or 3, 2 bad ones I know they won't pick. I hope to God they don't pick.
They do so.
Yeah,
You really love a lot
not
of
too bad.
times
It's
they
not
do.
too bad. But usually the first one you come up with is the one you want to go with.
That's an interesting point though. I've done. Now I only give them one sketch, the one I want to do.
I think that is, yeah.
Because I've done that before where I choose 2 or 3 and I think it's very obvious which is the good one.
Yeah.
The one with all the detail that
And
looks
then
really
I
nice and
choose the
almost
one that's
done.
not the good one, and then
Yep.
I go, oh, so I've totally decided to only give them one sketch, the one that I want to do.
I'm starting to go that way a little bit more.
I do that
I've gone from 4 to 2 or 3, so I think I'll just go. I think I've earned the right to just say, screw this.
Yeah.
I'm taking it or not.
No, I was being silly about that before. I do ask them for preconceptions and like what they're thinking, and I try to factor in like something, sort of crystallize a moment from what's happening in the comic and so on. I like that kind of information. And especially if it's a brand new character, like you said, that you've never been involved in, I ask for some like background information and try to percolate on that, And
My next question is, weren't they dead 10 minutes ago?
Uncle Ben.
no, when I die, I'm gonna die a marble death.
Yeah.
Come back with a new costume.
Keep going back.
No,
Going back.
it's funny you said that. Jim Mafood in a panel yesterday was talking about when he sends in variants, he will not send in his least favorite one because that is inevitably the one that they pick.
Yeah, that's a weird thing. Yeah, I used to think like you were shaping the environment by sending the one that you know isn't gonna work and make the one that you want to work the one that would be obvious for them to choose. But then when they don't choose that, then you're like, oh, what do I do now?
Didn't have to be that often. I think it's karma. What have you
Usually,
been doing?
usually I'll write, I really, really like number blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. That one's my favorite. And sometimes I'm like, take the hint. And, sometimes they get it. Like those that know, that work with you often, they kind of learn how to read you a little bit. But then the ones that
The
don't
good
know,
editors get the
yeah,
hint.
they get it. They catch it. They're like, oh, okay, you want to do that one. And then other ones are like, no, I like number that one. You're like, no.
So sometimes, for me, even if I think the drawings or the sketches, if I have like 2 or 3 good drawing ideas, I still don't know if I'll be able to execute them all equally as good. So sometimes I actually do 2 or 3 completely finished covers and then send them all to them and say, choose the one that you want. Like if I like an
Oh,
equally.
so you're the one that they're like, well, he sends us all about 5 completed covers, so why
Yeah.
don't you do the same thing?
But when I learned, what they end up doing is they end up buying all of them.
Yeah.
So you turn in like 1 cover gig into like 3 cover gigs. by like, hey, here's, and they'll be like, oh yeah, we'll use this for everything. then.
Yeah, we'll use that one and that one.
Actually, that leads me into a good question. I don't know if you know, Marvel's been doing variant months where they pick a theme and run with it. A couple months ago, they did the Jim Lee action trading card covers, where they had taken the trading card art that he had made in the 90s and blew it up and put it on covers. I don't know, what are your thoughts on that? Like reusing artwork that's already previously been done for another purpose as a cover?
Doesn't bother me, but I never heard of this, but it sounds,
I vaguely know about
it would all look new to me anyway, so I wouldn't know the difference.
I got you.
They end up recoloring it and presenting it in a different way. It's still, if it's 15-year-old work or 20-year-old work, I don't want to see it.
Oh, no,
They
yeah.
just redid they did a Venom cover. They took something I did. It was a splash page back in 1993, and yeah, it was colored. I think he's an off-colored, and he colored the shit out of it. It looked great.
Yeah.
But the actual drawing, I'm like, I wouldn't do that anymore. you
Yeah.
know? So.
You're like, burn it.
No,
Burn
it's
it
not
fire.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Yeah, so they used something Jim Lee did like
The
years
little
and
cards.
years ago.
Yeah, the
And-
trading cards and they.
Yeah, because I wouldn't want stuff
No.
from years
Especially
ago.
trading cards, because they usually suck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And they're usually drawn smaller for
Yeah,
a small
Right.
so
card.
blowing it up, it doesn't look any better.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you lose all the fine detail by blowing it up because it's small.
So, what do you think of the return to variant covers to the market? Like, I'm not saying we're at the 90s again, but we are getting to the point where variants have become a secondary market all on their own.
Not at the 90s. I'm drawing Venom again. We're at the 90s.
Okay, fair enough. I'm saying-
That's not a good thing.
I'm a retailer. I don't want it to be in the 90s.
Because we know how it ended.
Blood on the floor.
Exactly.
No, that's interesting. Usually when I get asked to do a cover, I just assume it's the regular cover. And if anybody can get the cover.
Well, that's because
And
you're
then,
primarily a cover guy. I mean, I don't, not
And then
primarily wrong, but, you know.
yeah, then people will say like, oh, I'm trying really hard to get your cover. And I'm like, well, just ask your comic store to get the cover. And they'll say it's only so many out of so many. But we normally don't have that information.
Yeah,
you
we
know,
don't.
it's
We
really
don't.
work that way. I
A lot
just
of times
assume
they're just like,
it's a
yeah.
cover, you can get
It's
it.
gonna be on all
Yeah.
of them, yeah.
Yeah.
Retailer side of that, a lot of places are really good about doing the, one or two. I know with Valiant and Oni and Image, a lot of times they're just completely orderable, so it's not a big deal. DC's moved to that as well, but a lot of books, it's the 1 in 25, 1 in 10. Again, that's not a problem. Where Marvel's starting to lose me specifically is they'll do percentages. So if you're ordering a variant cover, you have to order 200% of a book you ordered 6 months ago that may not have anything to do with this title. So it's frustrating.
We don't know anything about that geometry.
Yeah.
I
About
heard
the
a little bit
calculus
about
of
this.
that.
You know Cliff Biggers, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Dr. Knows,
Oh, yeah.
smartest guy I know.
He's a
And
really nice guy.
He's a great guy, and he was going over the math with this, and he lost me about 2 seconds in. But it sounded like you got to watch what you're doing. You can lose your ass on it real quick.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So, but you guys don't get that kind of info.
No.
When I was when I was putting out like Kabuki through Marvel and through Image, and if I would offer a variant cover, I would make it available to everybody. Anyone could order any amount of any cover they wanted, but if the retailer ordered 10 of the regular issue, they also got one of the other ones for free. So I'd make it a bonus for the retailer, but also anybody can order any amount.
Yeah. And I'd like to see that from my side as a retailer. But,
Yeah.
So that keeps it accessible to everybody if you want it.
So what do you guys keep in mind when you're approaching a cover? Do you, I know David, you said that you like to know what's going on in the book, and I know you do the interior, so you obviously know what's going on in the books that you
Yeah.
do. But when you work on a book that's not your own, do you get the info? Do you get like a script to get a feel for it, or?
Like the latest covers that I finally am able to do, I'm finally getting some man covers. That's great because gals are great, but I need some dude stuff. So I'm doing a Bloodshot thing, and it's 4 connecting covers. But the problem is that I'm not familiar with the new story, and they sent me a crap ton of references, which is great. But it was all out of order and out of sync, so since I'm not familiar, I was like, okay, well this person can go here and this person can go there, I guess, I don't know. And when I sent it in, they're like, oh, they're not friends. And I'm like, crap. And I'm like, well, I need to know a little bit more. So they sent me, you know, some of the comics, so I got to actually sit down and read it to become familiar. And then I still made a mistake. I turned in the finished cover, and they were like, "Oh, well, that's the wrong version of him." I'm like,
No, that is weird if the editor assumes you know a
Well,
new
and it's-
costume or something.
Yeah, and I think what it was we just got, you know, through all the emails, we just, I just misinterpreted some things. I mean, I will totally, like, I stepped up, I'm like, I'm sorry, that's my fault. I got confused. So I redid it and turned it in, but it was just, for things that I don't know, I'm like, I need as many references as possible. And then I talk back and forth with the editor, and they explain stuff, but then things that I do know, I'm just like, okay, it's fine, I got it, here's my idea, what do you think? And I have actually landed covers where I'm like, I just really, really, really want to draw this. And they're like, that sounds cool. I'm like, so, and then you have a variant there, but yeah, references are.
Yeah,
It was.
much like being dead, the costume changes are like this.
Yes,
now.
they
You know, in
are.
the old days, you know, Spider-Man looked like Spider-Man in the world, whatever. Now it's every 5 minutes.
But
Change on
depending on
stuff.
the story,
Yeah, exactly.
It's
Or
just
the
changing
book,
that
even. Like,
wardrobe.
Wolverine had like 2 or 3 costumes and 3 or 4 different books for a while, you know. Yeah, it's a nightmare.
yeah.
Sometimes.
And specifically, recently with the Ben Reilly Scarlet Spider, I know
Oh,
they
God.
solicited one image and then people got
I hated that
kind of-
costume.
Yeah.
I,
So, yeah, what?
you know, I wanted to do new costumes because I always hated the hoodie costume, to be honest. And so I worked my ass off trying to design this new costume, and so I just wasn't getting. Nothing was coming. You know how that is. It's like usually it just flows. And so I ended up with something I felt was all right and sent it in, and you know they accepted it. And the first email or first message on the social network was, "Looks just like Spider-Side." I'm like, shit. And then 2 issues in, they decided to go back to the original costume for marketing reasons, and it pissed off Peter David something awful. And I was like, good, you know. So, as long as we could.
So Andy, do you get info on the cover?
When I've done stuff for like Dark Horse and IDW, they sent the script for the issues, and you read through the story and then try to do a cover that really goes along with that. Marvel and DC, usually I don't really know what's going on at all, and they just give a simple description, what characters are on the cover, and give a lot of freedom. So it's kind of a different process, but either way works.
Which do you prefer?
I like both.
Give me an answer.
It's
Both
nice.
have their advantages and stuff. There's a lot more freedom when you don't have to put any story elements in there.
Sometimes it's nice to have a direction because
But then they
kind of
have
keys you in on something.
Yeah.
You know?
so.
Sometimes just saying, "Oh, go for it," is like
The
almost
worst
like,
thing in the world.
yeah, it can, because then you're like, you have no idea where my brain can go.
Yeah.
Or it's just like you're kind of sitting there going, "Well, shit. Well, what do you want?" No, it's fine. Just do whatever you want. You're just like,
I mean, even like the con sketches. I hate it when draw whatever you want to draw. Like, no, just give me something to
I
draw.
love that.
You know?
I love that because I'm all like, monsters, here we go.
Yeah.
And then they get it back and they're like, "Oh, I thought you were gonna draw a girl." I'm like, "No, why?" Get someone spit and blood.
You're bad. Yeah.
So, are there any tropes to covers that you avoid doing? I mean, are there any like certain poses that you're like, okay, this is kind of played out that you just don't want to do at all?
Not really.
Not really?
The thing I try to avoid is a whole lot of different things on the cover. I try to keep it a simple image as possible to make an impact. You know.
I found that like even if you plan a whole bunch of different things, if you have like 3 main things, like that's the right amount.
Focus it. Yep.
Yeah, like 3 things,
At
like
the
3
most.
layers. Yeah.
At the most. Because it just otherwise it just gets so busy, and it's not as bad as it used to be where you do the cover and then it'd be 14 word balloons all over it, or this issue somebody dies until next issue. I'm kind of think with that apparently. I don't know.
Until next
Because I'm old, maybe. It's you try. That's my main thing. Is I try to keep it fairly busy, designing without being too designing. I mean, there's guys who are really into the design aspect of it. Like Dave Johnson, and he's great. But and it works well. I try to stay a little bit more meat and potatoes when it comes to, once again, because I'm old.
Not old, it's
Season.
Season.
Like meat and potatoes.
You're professional.
I am that. Yeah.
I think also, you know, we're also drawing what we like, so, you know, I think that we tend to avoid the things that we wouldn't want to draw unless they specifically said that, and then we're like,
I don't think I've ever drawn a car on a cover.
yeah, there you go. See,
You know, it's like-
I mean, they know what we like, you know, what we draw, what we.
I got you. So, what makes a good cover to y'all?
Well, you know, I think like the central idea of the cover is to catch people's attention, whether they see it, you know, from a distance in the comic shop, and you want to make them walk towards the cover, and then you want to make them pick up the cover in their hands. Or if they're flipping online and there's an image out of all these other tiny little thumbnails of images, you want something that even if it's shown small, will grab their attention. So I look at it from that point of view. Like that's the main job of the cover, is to grab people's attention, make them click on it online, or make them walk up to it and pick it up in their hands. And so you have to consider that all of, you know, you're in a wall of all of these other covers that have a lot of busy things happening on them. So one of the jobs of the covers is to separate itself from whatever unknown covers are next to it or above it. And one of the ways that I find is useful to that is I try to create like some kind of buffer space on the edges of the cover to like not fill it all the way to the edges, so it at least jumps out from whatever you put next to it.
Kind of like
And
a
so at least
frame.
yeah, like on that, like there's some white space on the end. White space works well, you know, on that. So just something that like you're gonna separate. It's not gonna just blend right in for whatever's next to it or beside it.
Well, that's pretty rad. Now, is there something you try and do on every cover? Is there like a little personal thing that you put into everything?
Hair. Hands down.
Like your own hair?
Yes, I put my own hair.
Wow.
I cut it out and I blend it in there.
Is it digital hair
It's
or
like a
real
voodoo
hair?
thing. No, I just like to draw hair. So I like.
You draw the hair, yeah.
Oh, I remember the '90s comics when it would be like hair would go across the pages.
Right.
So I'm all like Aquanet that shit.
You do Medusa, covers of Medusa.
Oh my god, I would love to. I'd be like, it's everywhere. You see like her head down in the corner. There she is over there, and just hair.
Just her hand sticking up through the hair.
Yeah, help me.
The hair is taking over.
It is. So, or the ring. Just.
Oh, Lord.
That's something that I enjoy to do, but that's just always, and you know, it's just.
One thing I try
80s.
to put on every cover is my name.
That's a good
So,
thing.
yeah, it's the one thing that is continuous. You know,
Try to put it in a place for the barcode.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
you're thinking like, this is what the cover looks like on my desk. But what kind of stuff are they? If you haven't seen the book, you have to go find the book, because you have to realize like what kind of logo dressing and barcodes do they put in this corner, up here? How big is all of the publishing stuff with the numbers? And so you have to. It sounds ridiculous, but you have to consider where that's going to be when
That's
you're
the
designing.
design
I tend to just mark
Yeah.
off like the top quarter of the book, and you
Yeah.
don't even, you try to avoid putting, which when you're done with the finished image, it hurts it as a, you know, just as a pure piece of art, because it's not balanced and it's not, all the
Right.
stuff we were taught in art school makes a good piece of art. But as a commercial product, you have to do that, otherwise you're drawing stuff up there and it's just gonna get, you know,
Yeah, it's
splatted.
covered.
And that can suck.
But it's always a surprise too. You might look at something they already did where they have the logo up here, and then it comes out and they're like, oh no, I forgot to tell you we're doing like a side logo for this time. And so it's switched this way, or you know, sometimes it's just a half page or it's moved around.
That would make me mad. That's never happened to me. That would aggravate me.
Yeah, that's happened to me.
Yeah.
But actually, usually, I've been able to rationalize it. You know, and sometimes it looks interesting. Like, oh, I'm surprised. You know, it's nice to be, you know, surprised by how it comes out.
Doing this for a profession, you gotta be able to rationalize a lot sometimes. Sometimes the interchanges you get with the editors and, you know, their ideas and what they wanna do and why they wanna do it, you just.
It really trains you in
Shoot
life.
them, yeah.
You have to always be looking forward and not looking backward.
Yeah.
You know, which is a good metaphor for how to, you know,
And
it's
then
a
you
useful
go.
thing to learn in life anyway. But if you're always upset with the way they did something in the past and you're carrying that baggage, You just have to think like, I'll try to get more information
That's
next
just a
time.
good way to just be.
Yeah, that's a good way to live, although there's still a couple editors I don't want to talk to right now. A couple of them I haven't wanted to talk to for about 5 years.
That's pretty rad, because I was gonna ask, what's the most interesting editorial pushback you've received on something? Gossip.
I've got a couple of really good stories that we get together at a bar one night, I'll tell you, and it will make your head
So
fucking
tonight,
explode.
let's get.
But I'm not doing that here.
Oh, come on.
No, not a chance.
Funniest.
Look, this guy's recording.
Make it even the better.
In general, the editor, like, just what they say is usually useful on some level to me.
90%, 99% of the time, there's the 1 or 2% we've been doing this as long as you and I and
Well,
other people have. I've had a couple of them that I can't understand how they even keep their jobs.
But you also kind of learn to be diplomatic, and you say like, okay, tell me all this information, and I'm gonna absorb that and percolate it. It's gonna be useful to me what you say, but it might not come out the way that you're thinking.
Right.
But it's still gonna be useful to me, but it's gonna come out a different way, you know?
Yeah.
And just be open-minded to that.
Until the point over the phone you go, I'm not fucking redrawing. I'm doing this now 30 years, literally half my life, and I've done this twice over the phone to 2 specific editors, where you can be as rational as you want to be, but they're just being insanely unprofessional, and eventually you just go, I can get a job tomorrow someplace else.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate in that aspect, and B, I don't have to take the shit anymore. So,
You're seasoned.
yeah. I'm seasoned, but and like I said, in the course of 30 years, it's happened like twice. I've gotten aggravated. You want me to redraw that? Why? That's what. But it's been a couple of times you just kind of want to go, what the hell?
I always love that question. It's always one of my favorite
What the
questions.
hell?
Well, no, yeah, what the hell's a good question too, but I always love hearing editorial pushback stories.
No, I had one where the guy sent me like some references, and I was like, what? And they were like, well, we want this, and it was like extremely like over the top, like pinups are fine and they're fun, and I think they're adorable, but there's like a point where it's just trying too hard, and this was trying too hard, and he was just like, what about this and this and this, and I'm like, oh, maybe let's just keep on going with this. Let's just make it way over the top. But I was just like, how about you trust me and I'll do this? And I ended up actually just doing my own thing and then just plunking it. And they were like, that works. So it's sometimes, I guess your creative brains are not working at the same time, or someone who isn't thinking visually is just shouting out things and hoping that something will stick at the wall that they're throwing it at, and you're just like, okay, I got it. I have an idea of what you want. Just let me play over here, and a lot of times it ends up being okay. But yeah, there's some that you're like, what?
Like it doesn't happen often.
Where
Most
are you?
editors are great.
Yeah.
In my experience.
Yeah.
So, do y'all prefer to work digitally, or do you pull out giant 11x17s and go to town?
Traditional.
Traditional?
Yeah.
I've had this discussion with some of the newer guys. Dave Marquez, who worked fully digital, and he's a great artist. He's a terrific guy. And we were talking one evening over beers. I said, the thing is about digital is 10 years from now, you're done. You have a file. And 10 years from now, we even be able to open that file. The way technology is. We finish traditional-wise, and we've got a piece of work on our table that, we can save for our kids, sell if we feel like, save for us, and it's a thing you can put on the wall, and it's not a print of a thing you can put on the wall.
Right.
Yeah.
And
there's no originals.
And I think it has an intrinsic value all its own beyond what we do for you guys.
Plus, it's something that you've gotten your fingers dirty
Right.
in it, and
Yeah,
all
and
that
Dave has
stuff.
actually started now, he does his splash pages and his covers, traditional. And
Yeah.
the panel work, because those are valuable.
You gotta get it
and-
fast. And
Yeah,
do the panels.
and he still does all the digital stuff, working it up and doing layouts and that sort of thing, which I've never learned how to do digitally, but, I tend to do much of that anyway anymore. But,
And
so
then-
it is definitely a great tool, but you gotta know how to draw it first.
With the digital stuff, unfortunately, unlike the
Amen
best
to that.
mediums, I find that
Amen.
you don't learn how to creatively think around, like, you know, a mistake, like you're sitting there and you're inking and then all of a sudden, and you're like, oh crap, what do I do now? And you have to like actually go and fix that there. You can't just, you know, you can't backspace and click it out of there. You actually have to figure out how to incorporate it or go and start over. Like, I think that, you know, the messy mediums are good for forcing your brain to think outside of the box when those happy accidents happen. And you have to Bob Ross that thing, you know? They really make it nice, but it's just, it's kind of one of those, I think the digital painting is gorgeous, I just don't understand it. I'm like, how does this, it's magic in that box. I don't understand,
he's,
like.
He's off my Ultimate Spider-Man covers, he took over coloring those, and they went straight from pencil. They look like oil.
You look at it and you're like, you're a witch.
It looks
like, how did you do that?
It's phenomenal.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Which is kind of aggravating because back in the old days, sorry guys, but back when I was a kid doing this stuff, it was 4-color printing process. The colors didn't matter that much. They really couldn't screw it up that bad. You know, unless it was like nighttime and they colored it like it was daytime. Now, God, colors can fuck you up. They really can. And there's not that many really good ones out there.
Yep.
You know, and the really good ones are expensive and hard to get hold of.
Yes.
And they're always
And there's
close.
nothing
They're
worse.
always
You've done great line work. You know, I don't ink myself professionally, but you know, I'm working with John Dell, who inks like a madman, and it gets colored and you can't see it. You know, and it's just that is frustrating.
And colors can
Shit.
make or break an image.
Oh,
really, these
absolutely.
days, colors can really. I mean, I've seen folks that like practice on like some professionals' work, and then it's like you look at it, you look at one color version and another color version, and it's two totally different pieces. And it's, you know, and colors are important. They speak to the masses. People love color. I mean, I personally would prefer black and white, but you know, the majority color is that thing that can grab you, and it's a very serious, like a good
It's like
color
inking.
is,
A
like
bad
I said,
a
hard to
bad
find.
inker can destroy your pencils. And the best pencils you do.
True, yeah.
A bad inker can just wreck. My first inker was Ernie Chan, who a lot of young guys never heard of, but it was, oh man, I thought I'd never work again. And the pencils were all there, and they weren't very
Yeah.
good because I was 22 years old, or 27 years old.
But don't you find though, as soon as that happens to you, when someone inks you and you don't like it, you have to find a new way of redrawing it, totally changes your style to make it inker proof?
Inker proof.
No, I had that before, where I started out using like a lot of lines and stuff, and then you saw how it was inked. It's not at all what I was thinking, so then I made everything black and white shapes, just harsh black and white shape patterns.
Simplified it. You do what you can to adjust for the medium, because if you don't, especially if you don't know who's inking you.
I would get upset when I would have an inker because I started doing pencils, and then I would have an inker come who they were good, but I'd be like, it looks so flat. And they're like, well, that's what happens. I'm like, no, it just.
It doesn't have to happen.
I was like, it just doesn't feel right. So now that's why I ink my own stuff,
Yeah.
and eventually we'll get to coloring my own stuff. Just I'll be doing.
So you
it.
are insane.
Yes. Yes. Pretty much.
Insane to want to do it, you know, especially if you want to do it, you know, on a monthly. I know you don't. Most people don't do it on a monthly basis.
I try to do it. I
Yeah.
try to pump out at least
Wow.
3 or 4 covers a month, but it's tough. I'm a stay-at-home
Oh, you're
mom.
talking just basic covers.
Just covers.
Oh, okay, I got
No,
you.
interiors?
I was gonna say,
Hell
yeah.
no. Sorry.
Hells to the no.
Hells to the no. I'd be dead.
And, you know, I think colors are like the unsung heroes
They
of
are.
comic books because color is just the thing. I don't know if you know Saga. Are you familiar with Saga, the Brian K. Vaughan book? They had an issue number 41 that came out, and the cover was so dark that they requested every store to destroy them. What are your thoughts on that? What would you know, is that something that makes sense to you?
Well, I mean, if it's something that they didn't want to promote and they've got their name on it, I mean, kudos to them for wanting to always put out their best foot forward.
Why
It's-
didn't somebody spot it before it got on the shelf?
That's true.
That's a good
Yeah,
point.
that's, I mean,
Yeah, we opened our boxes that morning and we got an email. They're like, "Oh, don't sell these." So,
What do
But
you
they're
do as a
redoing it.
retailer? Do you actually destroy them?
Yes.
Yeah.
You
100%.
did? You think retailers all over the country?
Oh no, they
just
did not. I know they're on eBay, but I did.
How do you destroy them?
I just tear them up, shredder. It just because it made me think. You know, if I
Righteous fury.
yeah,
You're like, finally.
yeah, well, yeah, actually, it's kind of cathartic to rip that sometimes. But No, I figure if you're an artist and you make something and it comes out wrong, I would want somebody to respect me if I put something out with my name on it and was like, this is wrong. You know, I would want someone to respect me. But what do y'all, how would you react in that situation?
I figure that's as a penciler, as a storyteller, you know, working for one of me, not working on my own stuff. I really think that's got to be their decision. If they want to do it, then that's their decision. It's rare that I've ever seen anything that's been so bad that I thought they should pulp it. That's never happened to me. There was one project I started that another artist started penciling, and it done like 6 or 7. So I was working with Brian, and it was so bad that they ended up firing the guy off the book after 6 pages.
Wow.
And they pulled those 6 pages. They paid the guy for working on them, but they never used. You know, they just got them off. And I've never seen that happen before.
Yeah.
But
No, I mean,
And who was it?
once again, he's still fucking recording.
So how long does it take you usually to work on a cover from like request to completion?
The day for me. I mean, because I just do pencils. These guys, you know.
I'm more of an illustrator, so I take mine on them and take a few days to a couple weeks.
I try to do it in a day, but that also depends on if they have to approve the image, if you have to like wait overnight or something. Working with, like, just before I came in here, I turned in like 3 covers for American Gods for Dark Horse, so it's, it's like, we have like a good system of that. So I'm able to send like a sketch and get it approved usually pretty quickly.
That's the main thing. That's the important thing.
Yeah, that's what takes the time, is if you do have to give a sketch in advance and if someone has to approve it. And as long as they're like, I just, you know, like, hey, here it is, you know, here's the reasons I did this and so on. And then if they just, great, gorgeous, fantastic, do it, go ahead, you know, you like that, and you just like to jump right back into it. And